Hi there, how are you doing? I hope you've had a good couple of weeks. Mine have been great with quite a bit going on. I had to go for my annual contact lens checkup appointment recently. I've been wearing them since I was 14 years old, so it is a pretty straightforward process which I am very familiar with. Just in case you are not, this is what happens. You arrive wearing the lenses. They then check you can still see perfectly through them to make sure your prescription is correct. They then check the fit of them using a giant piece of equipment that would not look out of place in a Bond villain's lair, before then getting you to take out the lenses so that they can put a blue dye in your eyes that is so strong you have to leave the lenses out for at least 5 hours afterwards because it might melt them. Might stain them. Just in case you care, all was fine. I passed the MOT and have another 12 months contact lens wearing to look forward to. I was lucky enough to be at Wembley Stadium for this year's Capital One Cup final between Chelsea and Tottenham Hotspur. I was there before the game to help take some competition winners around the venue. While we were strolling about, we saw Chris Kamara presenting goals on Sunday for Sky Sports wearing a very shiny grey suit, and Ricky Wilson from the Kaiser Chiefs. And The Voice, who was there doing some filming. He was great, very nice, friendly and approachable. He was very happy to chat to everyone, and let me tell you, everyone did want to chat to him. The competition winners were also treated to a question and answer session featuring a former player from each of the teams. These players were Frank Sinclair and Darren Anderton. It was good to see Darren Anderton again. The last time I had met him was in a nightclub in Watford about 16 years ago. I did then get to stay and see the game itself, which as a Spurs fan was ultimately a bit disappointing. Without wanting to seem bitter, I thought my team did well. We were a bit unlucky when Christian Eriksen's free kick hit the bar, and were just beaten by 2 deflected shots in the end. The atmosphere in the stadium was fantastic, and it was still a good day out at the home of football, despite the result. I was back at one of my favourite locations, the BBC Radio Theatre, the other Wednesday to see an episode of the Radio 4 extra comedy Newsjack being recorded. It was the first one that I'd been to that featured the show's new host, Nish Kumar. I thought he did a brilliant job with it. They do quite regularly change the front man of the programme, then the show itself kind of takes on their style and personality. And I have to confess, I did like the feel of it with Nish at the helm. There were some really clever topical jokes on the night, which makes me proud to have written jokes for the show in the past. The show combines jokes with short sketches. It always features a high-quality cast of established and up-and-coming comedy performers. At the recording I went to, the cast were Lewis MacLeod, Jocelyn G. Essien and Freya Parker. All 3 of them were excellent, so funny. I'm still doing some writing myself for the show, so hopefully I will get some more of my material featured on it before the end of the current series. Although there were no celebrity spots in the BBC Cafe before watching the radio recording this time, they do currently have a clever little mock-up of part of the EastEnders set in there, which does look pretty cool, I have to say. Basically, you can sit on a bench, so it looks like you are in Albert Square itself. I have now finished John Cleese's autobiography, so anyway, it's a very interesting read, well written and extremely funny. It was fascinating to learn about his upbringing, school and university years, as well of course how he forged a career in comedy and ended up being involved with the rest of the team, who then went on to become Monty Python's Flying Circus. He doesn't shy away from the rumoured friction between him and some of his former colleagues, but he never deals with this in a crass or nasty way, and to be fair, he himself shoulders some of the blame for it all. The only slight disappointment for me was that he does not talk about writing and making any of the ace Monty Python films, nor does he cover writing and filming one of the greatest comedies of all time, Fawlty Towers, and there is no mention of some of his films like Clockwise and A Fish Called Wanda. The way it was left though, I'm very much hoping that there is a part 2 of the book to come in which he will cover all of these missing subjects. If that is not the plan currently, please can someone ask Mr. Cleese to get writing and make this happen. I need to know what went on here. Although if history has taught us anything, we may have to wait until his next divorce before he produces the book to pay for it. I am loving the latest series of Ant and Dec's Saturday Night Takeaway. For me, they are still the best presenters in the business, and the show has just the perfect format for a Saturday night. It has some of the very top people in television working on it, and you can see that from the features and the attention to detail in all aspects of the show. The floor manager for it is the brilliant Alan Connolly, whose CV reads like a who's who of all the biggest programmes on the box. The audience are whipped into a frenzy every week by Andy Collins. You can feel their excitement and enthusiasm bursting through the screen into your living room. Then they top the whole thing off with the always brilliant End of the show, which on last week's show was a magic act featuring the two cheeky Geordies as glamorous assistants. Let us be thankful though they decided not to put them in leotards. Last week's Ant vs Deck featured the boys going head to head to see who was the best at reading the news while answering questions by filling in the blanks on the auto cue. The segment was hosted and anchored by the excellent Mark Austin from ITV News. He is a truly brilliant newsreader in my opinion, and I have been lucky enough to meet him once. When I was working down at Ivell FM in Yeovil, we had a local lady who was being featured on that evening's main ITV News programme. So they came down to do some filming of her while she was at the radio station. Mark Austin also came along so he could interview her for himself. He is such a nice man. He came in, said hello to everyone, then just sat quietly reading the paper while he was just waiting to do his bit. And at the same time, he was very happy to join in and get involved with any office banter that was going on, proving, like with most serious news people, that he does have a very good sense of humour. And he does not seem to age either. He's like the George Clooney of journalism. Last Monday afternoon, I went to the ITV studios on London's South Bank to see an episode of Celebrity Squares being recorded. It featured both the aforementioned Andy Collins and Alan Connolly, who were both there working on this show, carrying out their normal roles brilliantly. It's hosted by Warwick Davis, who I actually think is brilliant at it. He is sharp, funny, he moves the show along nicely and gives everybody a chance to contribute to it. It's the first time I've ever been to a quiz show recording, and I did really enjoy it. You do really want both of the contestants to do well, plus it is still fun to play along in your head from the comfort of your seat. Obviously, I can't give away anything that happened, so you will have to wait until the series airs next month to find out how it went and if someone managed to win the jackpot or not. On the show I watched, this was the Celebrity Squares panel. Tim Vine, Arna Matronic, Joe Lycett, Duncan Bannatyne, Sarah Millican, Tess Daly, Joe Wilkinson, Ricky and Melvin and Milton Jones. They were all on good form, and as you would expect, all the comedians were very good value with their exchanges with Warwick and the contestants. Although, as is often the case, I predict some of the funniest jokes and moments will not make it onto our television screens, mainly because of taste and decency issues, apart from one bit which I do not think will make the edit simply because of one of the celebrities' flying skills. I have actually interviewed one of the panel before. A few years ago, I had the pleasure of chatting to the lovely Arna Matronic. It was when I was working at Mix 96. Her band, the Scissor Sisters, were just about to release their latest album, so I got to talk to her about that and her career in general. To hear the interview in full, just go to my website, neilquigley.co.uk. So it was Comic Relief last Friday night. It's always great fun with some amazing and memorable moments featured on the main show. This year it was the event's 30th anniversary. I can't believe it's been going on for that long. It actually makes me feel quite old, as I can clearly remember the very first one. It has now raised around £1 billion for various charities both within the United Kingdom and abroad, which is an exceptional achievement. As every event passes, there are more and more different sponsored events and television shows made under the Comic Relief banner. Amongst them this year were special versions of the Great British Bake Off and Strictly Come Dancing, but the one I watched myself was Let's Play Darts. I have always liked the sport and at various times in my life have played it quite regularly without ever being any good at it. I do enjoy watching it on TV, so a show that featured darts and comedians was always going to be something to attract my attention. I think it's pretty fair to say that some of the celebrities on the show were better at the sport than others, though pairing them up with professionals made the matches more fun and in most cases slightly more competitive. I have read Lee Mack's book, so I do know that at one point in his life he did want to be a darts professional, so he did spend a lot of time practicing the game as a teenager, so I knew that he would be good. The surprise of the competition for me was Tim Vine. I had no idea he was a serious fan of the sport and a decent player. The two of them are good friends and play against each other a lot, which from what I saw, they must be some very close games. Well done to Lee Mack on winning with his partner Martin Adams. I hope they bring it back for the next Comic Relief, as I think it was good quality entertainment. I'm really looking forward to going to see the Book of Mormon in London this week. I've heard some brilliant things about it, and I am glad that I am finally getting round to watching it. I saw Avenue Q 2 last year, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and the songs in that, which are brilliant, were written by the same guys who wrote the songs in this. So therefore, I should love it. I'll let you know what it was like next time we speak. Now, with a name like Quigley, you have probably already guessed that I do have some Irish roots in my family. This Tuesday, it's St. Patrick's Day. I have had some brilliant times on this day over the years. I do remember one year I was out with my mates in London. I had already had a few pints when a mate of mine who was working for a radio station up north at the time gave me a call on my phone and asked me to describe my St. Patrick's Day celebrations, which I did live from the balcony of the Punch and Judy pub in Covent Garden. I hope I got across in the piece how much fun I was having, while hopefully remaining very professional. I have to confess I am partial to the odd pint of Guinness, not least on special occasions. So when you combine all this information, I think there's a good chance I could well be out for a few drinks to celebrate this year. Well, it would be rude not to, right? So happy St. Patrick's Day. Have fun, and we'll catch up again in a couple of weeks. Cheers, Neil.